anymore. Okay, so clearly I don't get a lot of work on anything above D, frankly. So like E flat, E, F, F sharp, G. I'm sure you all know the chromatic scale. You'll notice also I have my earplugs in because it gets pretty loud down here in the saxophone dungeon. So I'm just trying to mitigate that as much as possible. But I'm just looking at my timer right now. You can get like a lot of efficient tuning practice done in under 10 minutes by using these drills that are on my YouTube page. Shameless plug, sorry. And then if this is something that interests you, why don't you subscribe to my channel, and then you can learn all these amazing scales and learn how to tune your altissimo. Mine needs a lot of work. I'm sure yours does as well. We're in this together. That was my rough draft, my first run through of that in today. I do this every day, but I don't go as high as I just did. I usually cap it around D. So that's progress for me. And then I'll probably do this again in, I don't know, a couple of weeks and see where I'm at, because hopefully these are getting better, and hopefully, let's see, I develop dexterity and intonation in the altissimo, just like the drill says I will. And yeah, so I'll keep you guys posted in a couple of weeks. So why major scales in the altissimo? Well, I think this should be a foundational exercise. Once you kind of get over the hump of making your altissimo speak, the question then becomes, can you play this musically? This was a question posed by Rose? No. Who am I thinking of? The Etude book with all the melodies. Oh my gosh, Dr. Levinsky did it. Hold on. Rose, I had it right. Rosemary Lane, which is a great altissimo book. If for no other reason than it just has melodies in it. Melodies written up, 8VA or whatever, and she expects you to be able to play them well. If you can't play Mary Had a Little Lamb, in all 12 keys, or Amazing Grace, or Simple Gifts, or something like that in the altissimo, what business do you have playing it in really, really hard repertoire? So I think the entry point for all of us as saxophonists has to be the major scale. So that's what I'm putting out there on the internet. You'll notice with the drill that it starts you off with an F sharp major scale. So hopefully you do your tuning, you warm up, you're like, okay, my F sharp is right here. And then the first thing you play is a 2-octave F sharp scale. Yeah, so we start off with F sharp because that really should be kind of your entry point into the altissimo. Each scale is time marked too. So say you do F sharp with the palm keys, and then you want to try it again with the front keys. Just click on the links in the description, and then you can do it in the front keys the second time. Repeat yourself, essentially. Then it goes up chromatically. So once you've kind of gotten confident with the tuning on your high F sharp, then that becomes the leading tone to the next scale. And I'm not going to get into a discussion about Pythagorean tuning and like expressive tuning and sharp leading tones, but let's just say if like you're playing in unison with the piano, that F sharp is like the new leading tone to the equal tempered next scale up, which would be G. So your F sharp goes to G, and then your G goes to A flat, and then that A flat becomes a G sharp to A, etc. By tuning each one, you're kind of like progressively building up your altissimo, building it higher, and then rehashing and retuning and incorporating all of the other notes along the way. And it's through a major scale. Things I like about a major scale: everybody knows what it should sound like, and so if it's out of tune, that becomes really evident. If you're fracking notes like I did 500 times in this drill, that becomes really apparent because it's a major scale. You can't get away with anything. So making a smooth connection between the notes in the altissimo really starts to challenge you, because we all know, like, all the different finger combinations. Yeah, you feel like you're doing this when you're doing major scales. So yeah, doing this every day kind of refines what fingerings you're able to get away with and which ones work in what combinations on whatever scale, which is crazy to think about. I've been doing this drill at least, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years. And what you just heard was the product of many, 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 many years of practice. And so like that may not be very impressive to you, but to me, who knows what like kind of went into it, as far as connecting all the notes and like getting all the fingerings I like and like making sure they build up and making sure my embouchure doesn't get too crazy. It's an accomplishment. So make sure to try this one and then just kind of see what you think. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comments and questions below, and be sure to subscribe, obviously, because we struggling down here with like 100 subscribers, and I want 1,000 so I can start making them big YouTube dollars. You know what I'm saying? So this is like a whole different conversation about embouchure, like low notes and connecting high notes and all this kind of stuff. But what starts to happen when you expand your scales up into the altissimo is you kind of have to change your embouchure. Okay, what do I mean by that? If you're too tight in the regular register, when you get up into the altissimo, it's immediately going to jump up like in pitch, or conversely, it won't speak very well. So you'll get past the bridge, say you're playing like front E, F sharp, and G, and it just starts fracking on you, or you don't have like that smooth note connection that you're looking for. All of that stuff can be mitigated by having a more neutral embouchure, or an embouchure that kind of splits the difference between your regular register and your altissimo register. And not only that, having a more neutral embouchure, being able to blow through that embouchure and make the reed vibrate the entire time, hence the smooth connection, hence having a major scale to show you if you're, or reveal to you if you're actually playing smoothly up there. Okay, why does this matter for us? Okay, as classical saxophonists in the world of classical saxophone, hear me out. There's a ton of rep with more scalar passages in the altissimo, and you kind of learn those on an as-need basis, right? So I'm talking second movement of the Embouchure concertino, or second movement of the Doll concerto, or first movement of the Embouchure concertino, other things, right? I mean, all of the contemporary rep now has altissimo in it. So if you're not able to play scales up there, and you're doing it on an as-need basis, you're probably limiting your expression. Perhaps you're probably just getting by with those passages, and they probably don't sound like they're like mastered or completely within your grasp as a saxophonist. Another thing this just bugs me about saxophone pedagogy in general. I'm not calling anybody out. Like I had to kind of do some digging and some reflection on like what I wanted to accomplish as a saxophonist, and it just bugged me that when you're 4 years old and you play violin, or 4 or 5 years old, you can play a 2-octave scale, and then probably in another few years you're going to be playing 3-octave scales. So there's like little children going around that can play 3-octave scales in tune on their instrument, and yet me as a college saxophonist, I had no idea how to play in tune on my own instrument in the altissimo, and frankly the rest of the horn too. So I think it's really important to address the fact that other instruments use scales primarily. This might be controversial, I don't know. Other instruments use their scales primarily for intonation, and saxophonists use scales primarily for technique. I think there is a way to bridge the gap and do both, but I think we as saxophonists need to definitely shift the emphasis over to intonation, because we're a dirty bunch. Let's be honest. I've not heard of many people practicing their scales up here and really like actually focusing on the intonation. It's more of like a dexterity thing, like let me like wiggle my fingers really fast up there and like play my altissimo scales really fast. But like, are they in tune? If you played them next to a violinist would they sound very good? If you play them next to a clarinetist, that would be a really good test. That would actually be an awesome video. I think I want to do that one day. And you played your 3-octave scales. Like clarinets have a crazy easy time playing altissimo up there. Like what's gonna happen? How are you gonna sound next to the violinist or the clarinetist? My guess is not that good. My guess is if I did it, I wouldn't sound very good. So, hopefully you guys take something from that. Okay. So in summation, basically, you want to play smooth, you want to play in tune, you want to get your fingering combinations right, you want to build it progressively, and I'm talking about your altissimo, so that you're able to reach each high note, and then have that one be the new in tune leading tone to the next high note. That's the goal. That's the goal. And I guess another little goal for saxophone altissimo scales is to play as well as a 7-year-old violinist. Because why not, right? If you're in college or high school and you're playing altissimo and you're playing your first Creston Sonata G, just imagine some violinist was doing that when they were 6 years old. Tough pill to swallow, but that's what I do here on this channel. So if you were interested in learning more about that stuff, I'm probably going to be putting out a lot of videos on these altissimo scales and fingerings and whatnot, and it's kind of a passion of mine is altissimo. To each their own, right?